decent career, but I think winning has always been like my next goal.
There's a new record holder for most threes in franchise history, and her name's Kelsey Mitchell.
Mitchell sets her feet. Mitchell lays in the three.
Pass inside. Mitchell lays it in.
Here's Mitchell. And hit from three. Mitchell into the paint. Able to lay it in. It's the Kelsey Mitchell show.
Electric in the open floor. It's easy money for Kelsey Mitchell right now.
This is why blaming Caitlin Clark is not only wrong, but dangerous. The narrative suggests her popularity complicated negotiations, inflated expectations, and made compromise harder. But that logic reverses cause and effect. Clark didn't destabilize the system. She exposed how fragile it already was. If her success highlighted inequities, that's an indictment of the system, not the player. She didn't write past CBAs. She didn't cap salaries. She didn't delay negotiations. What she did was generate more revenue, attention, and opportunity than the league had ever seen from a single individual. Turning that into resentment is self-sabotage. You don't punish the person who makes the pie bigger because you can't agree on how to slice it. Doing so fractures solidarity, distracts from real negotiations, and risks alienating the very audience that gave the league momentum. Caitlin Clark didn't create this crisis. She made it visible, and blaming visibility instead of dysfunction is how leagues lose their future.
It's your boy John, a Liquidator, coming back with another video. So it looked like Caitlin Clark is being blamed for the epic fail for the WNBA season. Now, it's no secret that the WNBA has hostile players, bro. We all witnessed it during the 2025 and 24 season. These players pretty much hate Caitlin Clark with a passion. And I'm here to tell you right now, the hate is growing even stronger because many people in the Players Association and people in the media is blaming Caitlin Clark for potentially being the one holding out when it comes to...
To understand how distorted this blame narrative has become, we need to revisit what actually happened. The WNBA Players Association had a critical opportunity to strike leverage before Christmas. They chose not to. That decision alone reshaped the entire negotiating landscape. Once January arrived without a finalized deal, momentum shifted decisively toward ownership. Free agency stalled, not because owners refused to engage, but because there was no agreed-upon salary framework to operate within. Instead of addressing that reality head-on, some commentators and insiders began pointing fingers at Caitlin Clark. The irony is staggering. Clark didn't stall negotiations. She supercharged the league's visibility. In 2024, she delivered record-breaking ratings, sold-out arenas, and mainstream coverage the WNBA had chased for decades. Her presence directly contributed to a media rights deal valued around $2 billion. That's not speculation. That's documented impact. Yet now, because negotiations have become uncomfortable and unresolved, she's being framed as the cause of unrealistic expectations. The argument goes something like this. Clark's popularity exposed pay gaps too clearly, brought in new fans who don't understand the league's financial limits, and created pressure ownership couldn't meet. But that logic collapses under scrutiny. Exposure doesn't create inequality, it reveals it. The pay disparities existed long before Clark ever touched a WNBA floor. The outdated salary structures were negotiated years ago. The league's financial model wasn't designed by rookies. Clark didn't force anyone's hand. She expanded the table. And now that players and owners are fighting over how to divide the gains, some are choosing to blame the person who helped create them. That's not strategy, that's deflection.
Now, the players had a chance to go on a strike right before Christmas. We didn't see the strike come, but I'm here to tell you they could still go on strike because the committee could enforce a strike, or the owners could enforce a work stoppage. Now, word on the street is that the owners is not looking to do that. They telling teams and coaches to move forward with free agency negotiations, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the context of the story is for people to be blaming Caitlin Clark is beyond sinister to me. How could you blame somebody that helped lifted all the boats, helped pretty much get y'all this $2 billion?
Behind the scenes, the league has quietly begun asserting control. Just before midnight on a recent Friday, teams were informed they could begin sending offers to free agents despite the unresolved CBA. This move wasn't symbolic, it was legal. Under U.S. labor law, the WNBA invoked what's known as status quo obligations, allowing qualifying offers and core designations to proceed under the expired agreement's terms. On paper, this keeps the league operational. In practice, it solves nothing. Without a new salary cap or finalized revenue structure, players have no incentive to sign deals tied to the very framework they voted to leave. Offers can be issued, but they're anchored to numbers players already rejected. It's motion without progress. This creates a strange illusion of functionality. Teams appear active. Front offices are working, but no meaningful agreements can be finalized. Players know that signing now would undermine the very leverage the union is trying to protect. So everyone waits. The league, however, gains something from this posture: pressure. By proceeding anyway, ownership signals confidence and patience. They're reminding players that the machinery of the league doesn't stop simply because negotiations are uncomfortable. This isn't a lockout. It's something more subtle and arguably more effective.
Adam Silver don't give a about none of the players. The owners don't either. They don't care about what y'all talking about. We gonna get a deal done. See, I believe there's a clause some way or somewhere in there to where the owners could override the players. That's what I'm thinking. If they're telling them they can move forward with free agency, that means to tell me we're probably going to get a 2026 season. I don't know the ins and outs of the clauses in these CBA negotiations, but it looked like they finna veto the players. They don't give a damn. It's either like you play ball or you're not play ball. We just gonna find somebody else to take your spot. It says the league has called every team to tell them they can send offers to free agents during this status quo period. Sources tell front office sport, but players are unlikely to sign anything that's in limbo, which we are.
What Adam Silver and ownership are doing now is a calculated show of leverage. By instructing teams to move forward, they're effectively saying, we're prepared to operate with or without your timeline. That message lands hardest on players approaching unrestricted free agency. Players like Cathy Mitchell, who structure their contracts expecting a new CBA by now. The deadline for qualifying offers and core designations looms, and with it comes anxiety. Miss the window and opportunities disappear. Ownership knows this. They also know that not every player can afford to wait indefinitely, especially those without endorsement income or long-term security. This doesn't mean owners are guaranteed to win, but it does mean they believe the threat of a full work stoppage is overstated. If they truly feared losing the 2026 season, they wouldn't be nudging free agency forward. This confidence tells us something critical. Ownership believes the players need resolution faster than they do. And right now, that belief appears justified.
In these CBA negotiations, now it's stated when the clock strikes midnight on Friday night, which we already passed that. Now it said under U.S. labor law, the WNBA has a status quo obligation to allow the sending of qualifying offers under the expired agreement. Legally authorized period of delay could be agreed to by the union and the league, resulting in the complete pause of all free agency activity until a new CBA is rectified. Now, as of Friday night, just before midnight, multiple league sources told them with the ultimate faith, which, you know, they ain't got no deal. Now, in a statement, the union said that the league and the owners have remained committed to undervalued player contribution, which we went over that last video. If you guys did not see that, goes on to say under the Aspire CBA qualifying offers, including core destinations, which grants teams exclusive negotiation rights to a player under the tag, could be sent out no later than January 20th. However, these offers will all be subjected to the terms of previous CBA. Now, without a real salary cap, no one is going to sign.
Cathy Mitchell stands as one of the most dynamic scorers the WNBA has ever produced. She holds franchise three-point records, has carried offensive loads that few players could survive, and has been a central figure in the Indiana Fever's identity for years. Yet despite her resume, her future, like that of many WNBA players, is now suspended in uncertainty. The reason isn't performance, injuries, or lack of demand. It's the most chaotic collective bargaining dispute the league has ever faced. And somehow, incredibly, a narrative has emerged that attempts to pin the blame for this mess on Caitlin Clark. This accusation isn't just unfair, it's deeply unsettling. As negotiations drag on with no resolution, players like Mitchell are left waiting to find out whether they even have a 2026 season to play. Contracts can't be finalized, free agency is frozen, and long-term planning has become impossible. Instead of focusing on the structural and financial disagreements between ownership and the Players Association, some voices within WNBA circles are redirecting frustration toward Clark, framing her as a disruptive force rather than what she actually is, the league's most powerful growth engine. Mitchell's situation highlights the cruelty of this moment. She did everything the system asked of her, signed contracts under previous terms, played through rebuilding years, helped grow the fan base, only to find herself caught in the crossfire of a labor war she didn't start. And now, as her unrestricted free agency approaches, she's being forced to wait while the league argues with itself. That's not leverage, that's paralysis. Blaming Caitlin Clark doesn't solve this problem. It doesn't unlock stalled negotiations or clarify salary structures. It simply provides an emotional outlet for frustration. When a league begins turning its anger inward, especially toward the player who brought unprecedented attention, it's a sign of deeper dysfunction. Mitchell isn't just waiting on a contract. She's waiting on the adults in the room to refocus on the real issues.